if you consent to me recording, could you please type I consent in the chat box? And if you don't consent to me recording, then I will stop recording, and that's okay too. I did this last time where I asked everyone to offer their consent, and I realized that I didn't have the video on, so everyone put their consent on there, and I had no record of it. So I'm like, I gotta record first and then ask for everyone's consent. All right, so in theory, what I will do is I will post this online for the rest of us to look at later, but there's a very good possibility I will mess it up like I did with the other one. So anyway, thanks a lot for coming today. We're gonna talk about Padlet and we're gonna talk about Wakelet, two tools that I have really come to love. And I think the thing I like about them is how usable they are, how usable they would be in a classroom, and neither of them require students to have accounts, which is going to make them super accessible in my estimation. So let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. Is this the thing that I want? All right. So the cool thing about Padlet and Wakelet is they're kind of, I don't use Pinterest a whole lot, so I don't feel very excited making this comparison. And at the same time, I think that, especially with Padlet, it seems like a bulletin boardy type, Pinteresty sort of tool, but it's a lot more user-friendly. It's a lot more productive. And so I'm gonna start with that. And then we'll look at Wakelet. And Wakelet was originally my answer to bookmark overload, and I'll show you a window that is an actual window that I had opened, and so I'll show you that in a moment, or when we get to Wakelet. But so that's what we're going to look at today. So here's a quick overview of them. Padlet, it's an online post-it board, visual productivity. It's easy, so easy to collaborate, and I feel like it's very intuitive to use. If you do sign up, there's the first link there that says sign up for Padlet. It's just a short, screencast on how to log in and set up a first Padlet. Also, if you use the link below where it has the LJ Azinger attached to it, you'll get a bonus Padlet. The one thing that bums me out about Padlet is you only get 3 for free, and that seems a little bit limiting to me. But the good news is if you sign up with my link, you automatically will get 4 for free, and so I would suggest doing that, or if you get a reference from anyone else, right? So that's Padlet. Wakelet it's a curation tool mostly. It's a place for you to store all of your bookmarks. It's, instead of having little folders across the top of your bookmarks bar, these are much more interactive visual folders that you can use. Super easy to organize. They have an extension, a browser extension, which is wonderful. And then you can sign up for Wakelet as well. And that's just, again, a short screencast that shows you how to log in, because with both of these, we can use our district accounts to log into them. And so that's pretty exciting that we can use our Seattle schools email addresses. It's just one less password we have to worry about, or it's a way to get a second Padlet account so you can have 6 instead of just 3. So there is that. So let's go into Padlet, and I'll send, all these links are active. I will send the PowerPoint out to everybody as soon as this presentation is done. So let's go ahead and let's look at Padlet by looking at Padlet. All right, so the first thing I wanted to go through with this is to show you how it's, basically how it's laid out. One of the things you can do as far as customizability goes, you can title the Padlet, you can put a small icon in here, and then you can give a description of your Padlet. Now, there's not a lot of, I put the lorem ipsum text there just to show you there's really not a lot of customizability as far as formatting goes on these descriptions. For the most part, you're just getting to put a description on there. So be mindful of that when you are when you're adding a description to your Padlet, because it's not terribly engaging to a viewer in the way I see it. So what we've got here is, these are the little pads. So this is essentially what a Padlet looks like, is you can post, you can put these little posts, and they've got that kind of sticky note quality to them. And I've chosen one format, I forget what it's called, but this is just a nice streamlined format. It's very easy, however, excuse me, let's see. logged in on this account yet. Shoot. Well, we'll do that in a minute, but it's very easy to rearrange how you want these to look. And we'll look at a couple of different samples in a minute. But the easy thing is in the screencast here, we won't look at it right now. Maybe we should look at it right now. Why don't I go ahead and log in? And let me know if you have any questions, okay? While we're doing this. Now, if we go back here. All right. So just like I was saying a moment ago, if you want to change the format, there are 8 preset formats that you can choose from: timeline, map, shelf, etc. So maybe instead of having these as one long format, maybe I want them in a grid. So I just click on that, and you'll see they'll get reorganized. And now I've got a grid here, so they're a little bit easier to look at. Or you see how, well, anyway. So that's how easy it is to change the format around. And we'll look at that a little, we'll look at some examples of those in just a moment. All right, so we've got our padlets. Here are a couple of basics. Now, the cool thing is every time you post, all you have to do is either you can double click here and it'll start a new pad, or, oops. So here it is down right here. You can see all I did was double click. There's also the, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's the plus symbol down here. You just add a pad that way, or add a post that way. So it's very easy to do. And the nice thing is there is a lot more customizability for the specific posts that you create. So you can do some formatting, some text formatting, right? If you want, you just highlight, just kidding, I'm in the wrong spot. Okay, so I need to edit the post first. All right, and once I edit the post, then when you highlight it, you get one of these little familiar WYSIWYG bars where you can do bold or italics, etc. You can add a post, you can highlight, etc. You can create lists and so on, and you can also link to things, which is pretty cool. You can also change the background color of the post, which is very easy to do and makes it a little bit more fun to look at. And as you saw a moment ago, it's really easy to reorder the posts, where you just click on it and it minimizes to make it very easy. You can move them around. So that's very helpful as well. So any questions so far about how to post or the types of posts that you can create? Okay, then let's go ahead and let's look at a couple of different samples. And this is where it gets really exciting. Now that we know some of the basics, because there are a lot of really fun ways. Oops, sorry, I see something in the chat, it looks like. Okay. All right, okay, cool. Thank you very much, Joshua, I appreciate it. All right, so let's look at a couple of examples. This first one is an example from my son. This is a book club that I have I have encouraged him to create, where he's keeping track of all the books that he's read since the coronavirus shutdown. He loves reading, which makes this really good for him. And what I just ask him to do is every time he finishes a book, he just writes a short summary of it. And normally there is a picture of the book cover. He puts a picture of the book cover there. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. But for some reason, there should be, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on here, but there should be a picture of the book covers for each of these. But it's been really fun. And this is oops. It's just a neat way for him to keep a record of things. You know, so I think about in classroom use, this would be neat for a portfolio, or this would be neat for oh, there they go. I think there are a lot of different ways to keep track of items or progress or what people have done. This is a neat way to do that. And he, you know, again, like before, as far as customizability, he got to choose that background. You can go up here to Oh, I can't do it because this is on my other account. But you can change the background image, background color, and so on and so forth. And all of that is shown in that short screencast that I linked, that's linked to right, oops, okay, right up here. This shows how you can post and manage settings and change background images, etc. Okay, so that's one, is to just have a list of, things to create ideas. Here's another one. This is kind of a fun idea for maps, because there's a map feature here. And sure, you could do a map of where certain things are in the world, etc. But I thought this was kind of a fun cultural map. Somebody made a map of the best burritos in San Francisco. And so I was thinking there might be a lot of fun ways for us to have our students maybe map things around West Seattle, or map places. Oops. Right? So it's kind of a fun way to use a map in a more interactive setting. All right. So that's the map.
Hey, Luke, real
Yeah.
quick, are these Padlets that you have linked, are they under your ownership, or are these separate ones? That the one that Sagero did was separate from yours, or is that something that is included in those 3 Padlets that you initially created?
Yeah, that's a great question. All the Padlets that I'm showing you, these are Padlets that other people have created, or other account, like this is on the Sagero's Padlet here. This is on my personal account. And the rest of these are just samples. I've just been searching around trying to find good uses of different types of Padlets. So yeah, these are all just linked. And that's one of the cool things about it, is they don't count in my 3, right? Like I can link to them, I can look at them, I can save links to them in my account, but they don't count as the 3 that I've created. So great question. Thank you for asking. So let's see. This is another one. A librarian at Ballard High School posted this to her students and just said, hey, everyone share what you're reading, watching, listening to, anything. We need a little bit of more good in our lives. And the thing I liked about this was the type of Padlet that it is. You can pretty much drag and post and put things wherever you want. So let's see where I think it pops up over here, doesn't it? Come on, go faster. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I don't know where it went. Shoot. Oh, there it is. Here I am, all the way over here. But this is another fun Padlet. So the one that we looked at with Sageros, those all lock into a frame. But this is another type of Padlet you can use that gives you the freedom to drag and put kind of drop your post wherever you want to, for whatever reason, right? But it's just it's a neat Padlet that gives that freedom. I'm just repeating myself now. So there's that one. Oh, this is another cool one where you can create these headings across the top. And so this is the summer reading list over at Lincoln High School. My friend Claire put together this summer reading list, and she's organized it by books, comics, short stories, nonfiction essays, and so on. So thinking about this, I feel like this could be really functional in a classroom setting. If there are different skills that we want our students to be learning, or different skills we want our students to be focusing on, they can, again, they don't have to have an account. They can just post something under certain the categories that you're trying to define, or that you want your students to learn in your room. It's a really neat way to do that, to organize their thoughts, to organize. I mean, even if you did it by first period, second period, third period, whatever. But it's a neat functionality, I think, that Padlet uses. Oh, and this is kind of cool too, where there's the possibility to add a post here, and then let's see if I can do it. No, I can't. But you can add a post, and then you can connect the posts with these arrows. And you can often, another thing you can do is you can add a description of the arrow. So if you wanted to, you could say first in command, or reports to, right? And then along this arrow, there'll be a little text box that will define what that arrow, the meaning of that arrow, right? So that's the canvas. This one is a timeline. Oh, this is cool too. There's a timeline feature And at first I looked at, a lot of people do timelines as far as, you know, here's my job, or here's where this thing happens in a book, and then this happens in a book, and this happens in a book. You know, I think from a language arts perspective anyway, I'm constantly thinking about how timelines work in novels or in stories. And one of the really rad things I saw was, this is a timeline lesson plan. And essentially it's going through, and this teacher is asking the students to do all of these things in this order. And then as you follow them through, it goes through, and here's the capstone project, or here's the project that they're going to do at the very end. So I think this is just slicker than snot, and like this functionality as a timeline feature that you could use with Padlet. And again, the great news is all these links are live, and you can enable comments here. So if a student has a question about this part of the assignment, or they're not sure, the link wasn't working, they can post that comment. They can post a comment there that you'll get to see and react and respond to. All right. So those are most of, let's see what we got. I think I looked at most of the formats. We looked at the wall. That's the one where everything kind of snuggles up together. The canvas shows the arrows. The grid is, it's like a wall, but everything stays in organized rows instead of snuggling together. Shelf is where we had the titles at the top. Back channel is the one that we're looking at right now. Map we looked at with the burritos in San Francisco, and the timeline is where we looked at the lesson plan. So those are all the different types of Padlets that we can make. I thought it'd be fun for us right now to, oh, I totally lost my track. I thought it'd be fun for us right now to think of what are some ways that we can use Padlets with our students? And I'd like to just give you the next couple of minutes. I'm gonna post this link in the chat. I need to figure out how to do this. I had it all ready last night, and then I had to shut off my computer. So I'm gonna find the link to this, and I'm gonna post it in the chat here. Here we go. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Give me just a sec, and we're gonna share. I'm gonna copy the link, and I'm going to go to chat. Paste it. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I just sent that out to you all in the link, or I sent that all to you in the chat. So why don't you just take a minute and go through and see what's a way that you could use this in your classrooms, okay? And I'm just going to sit here and I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to check up on the chat. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh my gosh, there we go. Oh, and could you do me a favor too? Could you just write your first name and your subject area, please? And hi, Amber. Right now, let me resend the link. Right now, what I've asked everyone to do is to just go. I put a link in the chat box. You should be able to see it now. And I'm just asking people to put down what's name and content area, and just take a moment and make a post here on this Padlet about how you could use Padlet in your classroom, or what's something you can maybe try to do with your students.
What, Luke, when I click on the link, it's saying, let me click on it and say, oh, nope, never mind, ignore me.
Oh, and Amber, I'm recording. Do I have your consent to record you?
Yup.
Okay, thanks. Hmm. Hmm. Cool. All right, we good for next steps, or do you still need another minute to fiddle around? Thumbs up, next steps, thumbs down, another minute, please. Oh, Joan, I don't know if you're talking to us, Joan, but you're on mute right now.
I was talking to you.
Okay.
I said I couldn't, it wouldn't allow me to fill in any description or anything else. I started typing the title and then it had the little icon of trash, but it wouldn't let me put anything else in the box.
Oh, interesting. Huh, I wonder if maybe that's yeah, that's really interesting. Maybe that functionality only comes if you're creating the pads yourself. Yeah, I will look into that a little bit.
It
Quick
looked
thought,
like other
Joan.
people were doing it.
Joan, do you have 3 dots up in the corner of your post? Because if you
I
do
do.
that, does
I
it click
push
on
that.
Does it say edit post?
Yes. Is that what you do?
So then I noticed that if I click outside the box, then it won't let me go back in to fix it. But if I click edit post, then I can go back in and add more.
Okay. So I just needed to push edit and then go back in and type. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think another thing too is that another thing that I've learned is it only comes up if you highlight some text. So maybe go to that edit post and then highlight something and see if that allows you, if that little bar pops up when you highlight the text.
Okay.
And Luke, I'm so sorry. I was in an IEP meeting, which is why I was late, but I don't know how to make a post.
Oh, you know what? It's really cool. You can just double click anywhere on the screen, or
Okay.
there's that little plus bar down in that little plus symbol in the bottom right corner of the window. So either one of those will work.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you know what else is pretty slick is you can also just drag a file. Right, so if I want to drag a picture, I can just drag this picture right from my desktop. Oh, I think I can. Right, so that was kind of cool. I have this picture of Katie and I were in a meeting last week, and I just dragged it I dragged it from my desktop right in here, and it posted up like that. And so now I can comment or I can edit the post however I want. Right, Katie and me down by the schoolyard.
I don't see the photo or the picture.
Yeah, we can't see the Padlet.
Oh, really? It's not showing
Heading.
up?
I saw it.
I can see it.
I can't.
I see the heading. It just the picture hasn't popped up yet.
Oh.
Mm.
I don't know. Oh, now I see it thinking.
Heather, I see that you had a question about having a Padlet inside which you can link to student Padlets.
Yes.
Did your question get answered, or were you?
Well, it hasn't been confirmed. So it looked like you and your Padlet had a link to Cedro's Padlet.
Yes.
So theoretically,
Yeah.
students could go see each other's Padlets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then here's a question, if that's true. When you link to another Padlet, are all Padlets editable by others? Or can you have one where like you've linked to another student Padlet, but students can go look at it, but they can't add to it? Can you set it up that way? I hadn't noticed yet.
Yeah, so right now, like if we go back here and, do you mind if I take over the screen again?
Go ahead.
Okay. So for example, if we go back here to this ancient Greece, I'm not allowed to, if you notice, I'm not allowed to, I can copy the post, but I can't do anything with it. And so if I copy it, then let's see if I copy it to the Padlet itself. All right, so I can paste it down in the end here. Now let's see. And now once I've made a copy of that, I can edit it and make changes, it looks like. All right, but I can't copy I can't do anything to the original posts. Does that make sense?
But you could add more.
Right, I could add more. I could copy a post and like add my take on it, kind of mix it up a little bit, but I can't delete any of the things that are there originally.
Is that true for all Padlets, like, or is there like just a Padlet where only the owner can edit it and?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Right, just to kind of like, or even comments or things like that.
Yeah, so let's have a look. Let's see if we go to modify here. So what you can do is, right. You can require approval. And so I think what would happen in this case is people can still make comments on it, but before anyone is allowed to add to it, you as the administrator of the Padlet would have to say it's okay. Okay. So let's try that out right now. Let's go to, wasn't that funny? I had that on here. Or I didn't have that on here. So let's click save. Now, can one of you try to add a post and let's see what happens? So this is interesting because if you notice on my screen, if you can see my screen at all, I can see that a couple of you are typing. I can see that there are 3 people right now that are trying to add posts, and I've got the option to either delete it or approve it. So I'm going to approve this one, and I'm going to delete this one. I'm sure I want to delete this post. Sorry, I don't know who that was. It doesn't say who it is, but all right.
You deleted my post about riding bicycles, or do you allow that one? Oh, good.
You allowed that one.
Oh, that was you. You know what I need to do? I should turn on attribution so I know who's making these. So, all right. So that's great. Other questions? All right, so this is Padlet. I really think it's I think there's a lot of exciting tools that lesson plan it hooked me hard. I mean, the idea of anyone being able to post, and I talked to Katie a lot about this, that having things that students have to sign up for can really be a hurdle that a lot of our students don't want to have to jump over. So, pardon me, both with Padlet, the fact that you don't have to sign up for an account, the fact that anyone can just put something on here right now today without an account really makes it attractive. Also, I think it's kind of sexy. Like I don't know if it's sexy, but I think it's it's very intuitive. It's easy to use.
Sexy.
But it's a fun and easy to use tool. And the more you play around with it, the more that there is a lot of customizability, which I think is kind of nice. I mean, just for how it looks and how you lay things out. And the fact that, Sadra and INA spent so much time playing around with getting the background images that they wanted. And the other thing, right, is, you can color, I showed you this, like you can get different colors in the backgrounds of your posts. There's so much you can do to link. You can add images, you can add files, you can add so much stuff to it. We haven't even really scratched the surface on that, but you can add all different kinds of files to it, which is cool as well. So it's just a fun tool, and I think there's a lot of potential. And maybe once you've played around with it a little bit, I would love to talk more about how you can use this. Yeah, Heather. That was awesome, by the way.
There's so much I love about online things and so much I don't. But anyway, raising hands is fun. I was just looking at the plans, and Padlet to have unlimited is $10 a month or $96 a year. So what I'm wondering is there a way for us to get a chief self Padlet? Although I could see right now how that could get really unwieldy and people mixing each other's stuff up. But we could have a folder for each teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So you put any thought into how to make this? Because with only 3, or maybe if you use both your personal and work accounts, 6 or 8 Padlets, right, there are so many potential uses for this that I feel like it's an actual tool I would want to use regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But, do I want to pay $10 a month? I don't know.
Right. Well, no, and I absolutely have thought about that. And it's weird because I'm a little bit, I'm not quite sure what to do, because for $10 a month, you do have the unlimited Padlets, right? The thing that I wonder about is they also have an institutional license, which is for schools where every teacher gets an account and everyone gets schools. But that, I want to say, is like $1,200 a year. So part of me is like, what if the library spends its budget providing this service to the staff, and let's see how it goes. And if it's the kind of thing where it takes off and it's getting overloaded, and Padlet sends me an email that says, hey, it's really funny, we noticed that there are 47 different ISPs that are all logging in to Padlet at the same time, maybe we go from there. Right? I mean, it's one thing that I steal my parents' Netflix account, but if everyone's stealing my parents' Netflix account, then that becomes a little bit more of an issue. And that being said, I absolutely, if there is interest, Heather, even if it's just you and a couple other people, I think that's enough to warrant spending the money on this. So
we could also use department funds,
mm-hmm.
and all of us could have an account, right?
Right. Yeah, that could work too. Well, let's try it out though. I mean, let's use the library funds. I've got money I don't know how much money I have left at the school, but I even have PTSA funds that I could use. So so maybe let's try it out. Especially as we're going into, I mean, it looks like online learning is going to be a reality for us next fall. So if there's interest, what about math and Joan, like with health, is this something that you could see yourselves using at all?
For health, I can see lots of ways that we could use it for talking about body systems, drugs, alcohol, tobacco. I mean, I can see it for classification or different projects and things. I can see that.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's
I want to say yes for math, but I'm having a hard time really coming up with more than just a couple examples, as opposed to ongoing, like constantly using, like other than being like a one-off or like using it a couple times a year. I'm having a hard time, unless Katie has a better idea about how to make it into something that we're using all the time.
Yes.
And I would suggest that even if it is once or twice a year, I think that's okay as well. I don't think that it needs to be something that there are so many things that we're going to be using. I just think having this as an option, where if once a year you're like, man, it'd be great. I'd love to design this next lesson where I've got these 7 different components. I'd love to put it in a timeline in Padlet. And if that's the one time a year you use it, I'll feel even less guilty about sharing sharing the information with everyone. So cool. All right, any other thoughts, comments, quips, jokes, limericks, ideas before we move into Wakelet? I would like to just touch base with Wakelet, because I think Wakelet is equally as wonderful as Padlet. So I want to at least plant that seed for you before noon today. So, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and move on. That's Padlet. Feel free to contact me anytime, ask me any questions, anything that you need whatsoever related to this, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to, help you out, okay? So I wanna go to an actual window. As everything is happening in the world, I started looking at anti-racist resources for teachers, right? And I don't know if you have ever had windows like this, or if you've ever had browsers like this, where, right, you have these tabs where it's so small, it gets to the point that you can barely even just see the icon. And sometimes it's nothing more than just that little thing. And then my computer shuts off, right? Or I forget, I mean, all you have to do is just accidentally click this or touchpad and it's totally gonzo. And that's really frustrating. And it's also, this is really cumbersome when there are other things that I'm trying to look at. Enter Wakelet. Wakelet is a way to organize bookmarks, and it's also, oh my gosh, the more I delve into Wakelet, the more excited I get about the things that it allows us to do. So just on a very basic level, all of these tabs right here, right? All of these tabs right here can be collected in this space below, and right, you can see we can talk a little bit about how it looks, but essentially it's a visual collection of all of these bookmarks, right?
So I'm still seeing the Padlet screen, and I don't know if you have something else in mind for us to see. Because the Padlet looks awesome, but I think when you share your screen, you just shared the browser that had the Padlet stuff. So
thanks, man.
No problem. Total support.
I totally appreciate it. Let's go. Let's try this one. Let's see if that works. Aha. Now, are you seeing the George Floyd thing at the top? The George Floyd video? Okay, cool. Okay, so here are the tabs. If you want to look, can you see my browser? My whole browser window. Okay, can you see the grid of your smiling faces? Okay, so then I will move you out of the way here. I'm just gonna leave you, Heather, down there so I remember you all there. Okay, so here's that super crowded tab thing that I was talking about. And then here's what Wakelet does, is it takes and it allows you to title your collection, to define your collection, and then it shows you visual links of all of those tabs. So when I go through and I close all these, they're easy to access again. All right, so that's just a really quick outline of it. Let's go back to this slideshow, and I want to go through and just walk through. I've stolen this directly from Wakelet. They have a lot of really neat educator resources. So let's just talk about the 4 steps of Wakelet. The first one is bookmarking, and it's cool. As you see here, you can bookmark almost anything. It's super slick and really easy to use, and it's very easy to incorporate into your Wakelets, into your different collections. We'll get to that in a moment. You can also organize them. It's pretty neat to see the different ways to organize your collections. We'll talk about that in a moment. You can collaborate, and again, you do not need an account to do this. Hopefully we'll have a chance in a minute for everyone to try to collaborate or offer or to put a resource into a collection. And then, of course, you can share, and it's really easy to share through Teams, Facebook, Twitter, but it's a really neat tool to send out and show other people what you're working on. So we're going to start by looking first at my Wakelet. We saw it just a moment ago. And as you can see, there are a couple of different places you can look. The first one is you can see all of the collections. So in a class that I'm taking, I've been working on makerspaces. So I have a collection for all of the places. Every time I come up with a resource for makerspaces that I want to hold on to, I can put it here. I've got my resources for Wakelet. I am in language arts, I believe so strongly in independent reading, and I've been finding a lot of resources about the power of spending the first 10 minutes every day doing independent reading. So I'm collecting all of those resources there. And then here are the resources for anti-reading. Right, you get the idea. These are all my different collections. And to create a new collection is very easy. You just click on the big green button that says create a new collection. And that's all it takes. You can add an image. I mean, the images I put on there myself. But the collections, once you see a collection, you create an image at the top. You can add a description, and then you edit the collection here. And this just gives you a few layout options. Right? It's pretty, there aren't as many, but it just gives you a couple of layout options there. And then if you want to add something new to your collection from this screen, you just click on this and you can add any of these that you want to add. And it goes like if you want to upload a PDF, for example, you just go through and choose, I mean, it's very simple. We all know how this works. It's very, very easy to use. While that's loading, you can add a text box if you want to type something in there, bookmarks, photos, anything you want. It's dead easy to upload to it, and boom, there it is right there, ready to go. All right. So that's one way that you can add things. So I'll say that it's done. Oh, I'm going to go back in just a moment. Sorry. Also, this shows if I want it to be unlisted, that means that it's not public, but if you have the link you can look at it. Private means only you can see it, and public means everyone can see it, okay? So there's that. And there are other customizable options, but not as important for right now, I don't think. So if we go back to home, so that's how collections work. The other thing you can look at, and mine's not very exciting, but you can also look at your profile. And we are going to look at a rad profile in a minute, but profile is, yeah, I'm not even going to talk about mine because mine is boring. Let's just go ahead and look at this student's profile. So on the profile screen, this is awesome because you can create these subheadings here where you can organize all of your collections under headings, right? Like in your collections tab, that's just all your hundreds and hundreds of collections just there in various orders. But in your portfolio is a place, or in your profile is where you can really do a cool thing organizing these. And this, we've been talking in language arts, we've been talking about portfolio options and where do we collect all our things. I feel like this might be the answer because talk about sexy. This is just a gorgeous layout. I think it looks really good. It's very easy to navigate. You've got the table of contents over here, so you can just go back and hit a specific one. You can scroll through them, and then all of the students' collections are there. And again, because you can add text, you can add files, a student's collection might just be all the things they've written in 9th grade or in 10th grade, or as a persuasive, etc. It's really, really cool. All right, so those are the two different parts of Wakelet. Again, my sad, lonely portfolio or profile there. But then if we go home, this is where we go back to collections. All right. So now you can also, so the first thing you can do that says you can bookmark and organize, that's where you have all your collections. The second thing that they say you can do is you can collaborate. So if we go to this link right here, and this is a live link, ooh, you know what I'm gonna need to do is go there, copy, and I'm gonna go back, and I've got some anti-racist teaching resources. And again, I'm going to invite you all, I'm gonna share this link with you. Paste, all right. So I'm gonna share, I shared a link in the tab, which, and I'd like to give you all the chance. This is, I'd like you to just do a quick search of anti-racist teaching resources, and then go and post that. Try to post that. Uh-oh, it's not working. Thanks, Katie. Give me just a moment, we'll figure this out. Maybe what I need to do is, oh, I know why. Copy link address. So that was the wrong one. Try that link that just went in there. And I'd like you to find an anti-racist resource. It doesn't have to be the best one. It doesn't have to be the one that's going to change your life or anyone's life necessarily. But find a resource, and I'd like for you to try posting it into the Wakelet. And let me know if you have any questions or if it's hiccuping for you. That was the lonely sound of the last of my coffee. All right, cool. I see a couple things here. This is pretty exciting. So one thing I'm learning is that it doesn't refresh automatically. Not a huge deal, but just keep that in mind. All right, very cool. So I really wanted us to go through it. So it looks like I've got 5 or 6 things there. So I'm gonna go back, and I think I'm gonna share the screen again. I think I want this one. Okay. So the neat thing is, right here is what everyone just posted. And I wanted us to go through that because how cool would this be to work with our students, right? How cool would this be if students are working on a group project? How cool would this be if we're learning a new concept? Find an example of this mathematical principle in public, right? Or find a real world example or in the news and post it to this Wakelet. Here's the link, it's due tomorrow, etc. And it's really, really easy to do. I mean, you choose the invite tab right here, just copy the link and then post that link out to anybody. And anyone who has that link can post it. Again, students don't have to sign up for an account. Students don't have to log in, just like you all did. You just click on the link and you can post away. And it's really, really slick. I'll tell you, the more and more I play with Wakelet, the more I'm really smitten with all of the functionality and kind of wishing I were in a classroom so that I could use it more often. Isn't that silly? Let's see. Oh, okay, so then the next one, as far as sharing goes, sharing is, oops, let's make it unlisted. Okay, so now this is a link where if I want to share it to anyone, and this is kind of cool through Teams, Twitter, if I want to send a link out and remind, right? How rad is that? Like, hey, here's the collection of everything we just did. Send that in a remind message. It's very, very easy. You just copy the link or just send it out to your students. You can also, I don't know if any of you guys use QR codes. Wakelet is really big on QR codes and they talk a lot about it. I don't know if that's if I'm missing what's cool about it, but I don't use QR codes much. Ooh, what just happened? Did somebody leave? What else? And then, we looked at that student's portfolio there. And okay, and so, all right, what a stunning end to that little section. But anyway, that is Wakelet in a nutshell. So do you all have any questions or comments or concerns?
I'm also officially in love with this.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool, and I love the idea of potentially using this as their portfolio.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Heather. I've been freaking out this whole time, like, oh my God, this could be the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Right. That when I saw that student's portfolio, I just about lost my business. Honestly, because I was like, this is a solution. This is a solution to so many things. And the cool thing about Wakelet is that there are no caps on it. There is absolutely no pay structure. There is a pay structure, but I don't even know if there's a pay structure, actually. I never saw anywhere that said pricing, and maybe I just missed it, but it is 100% totally free forever and ever. Amen. It is awesome. And I love, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I should be. You finish. I'm sorry.
I think I was just going to repeat myself and talk about how much I love using it and how much I want to use it more,
This is just a silly question that I guess I should know the answer to, but like, how does something like this sustain itself if there's no pay structure? Like, what is the benefit to the people who create and sustain this situation?
The only thing that I've heard is that teams work really hard to make these free things so that Google will buy them, or Zoom will buy them, or some other company will buy them. And that's how they make their money, from what I understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Are you posting these videos anywhere for referencing again?
What I'll do is I'll post, as long as I remember not to delete this whole one like I did with the other one, I will absolutely find some place to post this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also will send out a link to the slideshow that we looked at that has all the links are active in there. So anything you want to look at will be there present. So if there are no further questions for the good of the cause, I will go ahead and stop the recording, and then you can all stay on and we can chat or whatever, or we can go eat lunch too. But are there any questions for the good of the order?
I just found on Wakelet, there's up at the top, there's a thing called Surf School, and there's all these examples of how you could use Wakelet in education.
They also have a downloadable educator's guide too. It's a PDF. I don't know, it's 20 pages or something. It's very readable, very quick. I'll make sure to post that. I'll put a link to that as well. when I send this out. But Wakelet is working so hard for teachers right now. They are making it so easy for us to use Wakelet. It's awesome. I mean, genuinely, it's worthy of awe that they are doing so much to give us these free resources, to give us these excellent examples, and making it really simple for us to incorporate this into. I mean, I understand what their end goal is. Nonetheless, they are one of the few places that I've seen that have given so many resources. So thanks, Heather, for pointing that out. I had forgotten that.
Oh yeah, and right up at the top of Surf School is Download the Educator's Guide. It's right there, so that's cool. This is awesome.
All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording.